Well, welcome everyone to the 2019 Carb Hall of Fame inductee videos, and our first subject here tonight is going to be, or I guess I should say our first inductee is going to be Chad Lyle. First of all, Chad, congratulations on your induction into the Carb Hall of Fame. I didn't really think you were that old, but whatever, man, congratulations.
Appreciate it. It's quite an honor. I mean, I'm only 51, but it's a great honor to be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm sure it has to be. I'm sure your family, your dad, and I'm sure your mother, like they were saying at the banquet, is watching down on all of this and thinking, "Oh yeah, I like it."
I'm sure she'd be proud.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think the thing that really kind of puzzles me about all of this is that at 12 or 13 years old, you absolutely had no interest in racing, even though your father was a racer. Your real interest at the time was sports. What were you involved in?
We just played sports all year round. We'd go to basketball camps during the summer, all summer long, and played a little bit of baseball. Wasn't really a big baseball fan, but I loved basketball, loved track. Used to do a lot of AAU stuff when I was a little kid. And we played a little football,
Yeah.
So.
What position did you play in basketball?
Guard.
Shooting guard.
Point guard. Yeah.
Bar guard. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
I figured you'd have to have some kind of control.
Too short for anything else.
Well, what was it that actually turned this young man into the racing phenom that we all know?
Well, my mom was busy, and my dad was kind of racing on his own, and we with two kids at home. My mom would just kind of stay at home with us, and me and my brother, we had sports and stuff like we loved to play, so we didn't really go much there for a time frame. And then mom was busy, so dad had to drag us with him, So we got drugged, screaming and the whole way, but. Get down there and you see the competition, and that's your dad out there on the racetrack. You know who you're rooting for, and it's just, man, it takes a hold of you for somehow, some way. It's hard to explain, but
I think a lot of it is the excitement that's in the pits and what goes on around the race car in between the races, as much as what happens out there on the track.
I liked every part of it, really. Like you was talking about. The pits and everything that goes on in there, because we actually got to go to the pits, which we were, minors, so Dad was sign waivers for us, stuff, and it was fun, because it was totally something that I hadn't really been, acclimated to since, I was a little kid, baby stuff before that, so when my mom was going regularly.
Yeah. Tensions never run any higher than what they do at the pits, I don't think. I mean, in the car, you're kind of in a soulless situation where it's just you and the automobile. But when you get into the pits and there's a problem or something's broke or whatever, I can see where that could really bring you and your dad together, because you have to really work together to work out a problem or get by something.
Well, early on I was really just trying to learn, and man, I mean, what a guy to learn from. He's so much different than I am in a lot of ways, but a little bit the same. He was just very laid back, and I mean, everybody loves him. If you've ever met him or talked to him, you like him for some reason. I don't know, I'm not the likable guy like he is, which I wish I had that in me like he is, but I don't for some reason.
Yeah.
And, just seeing that and learning from him and getting his knowledge and watching his driving ability.
In '82, I think it was your dad that just one night at the racetrack said, "Hey, Chad, jump in here. Drive."
Well, it started out with packing the racetrack. I got to pack the racetrack for a little bit, which I had a seat cushion under me that was probably 8 inches thick. Because my dad's a big guy, and a lot bigger than I was when I was 13, 14 years old. And then it got to the next year, he let me hot lap it, okay? And then I think it was the year after that when I finally conned him in, because he was driving for somebody else at the time, and his car was just sitting at home. And I begged him for at least, half the season to let me drive it. Let me try it. Come on, Pops, come on. And he just wouldn't do it. And finally he decided, and that's where it all kind of really started right there.
I was going to say, man, you were hooked in, I bet.
I was hooked in pretty hard by that at that point. Yeah.
The second year out in a late model, you end up winning the points at Lake Ozark Speedway. Now, how did you go from no interest to winning the points in what would be like two years?
You know,
Quick learner?
The learning curve was pretty quick on it, but you know, I had a lot of great help there. The car was set up, you know, by my dad already. I'm basically jumping in a car that, you know, that other people would love to have set up that way, and it was a really, really good car. It was an old car, but it worked good, and you know, that was a big help. And just having him there, you know, kind of showing me the ins and outs, and making sure that, you know, when I made mistakes, I learned from them, and that was back before you had a lot of video. You could watch yourself racing. Yeah. So it's good to have somebody that had a lot of experience to come back and say, well, this is what you did wrong here, and that's what you did wrong there.
Yeah. Were you able to give him any feedback as to what you thought the car needed, or did he already know?
Well, I'd always tell him what I really, you know, thought. I don't like this part about the car, and you know, he'd say, well, you're just going to have to drive
it. It's yours, go for it. Yeah, the first 10 years, most of your time is spent in a late model, and you're running with UMP late models, and you said you were in the summer series. I'm not sure exactly what year that was, but 13 races in 14 days. Man, that had to be a tiring thing to do.
Yeah, that was early 90s, 90 to 92, something like that, I believe. Yeah, it's called the Hell Tour, whatever they call the UMP Hell Tour. It's a month long now, I believe, but back then it was like 13 races in 14 days, and yeah, it's a grind. It's an absolute grind, but man, you learn so much from getting out there and racing against the best of the best. That's everybody. That was back when Bloomquist and all of them were running that series, and You know, you're not going to win a lot of races, but you sure, if you pay attention, you sure can learn some stuff. And, you know, some guys would actually come over and help you out once in a while.
Yeah. What I've always said is the more the local racers get to travel, the more they start picking up of what other people are doing, and it makes them a better racer in the end.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that, yeah.
1992, Bobby Hunt starts asking you about driving some modifieds. What was that about?
Well, we were running at Sedalia on the late model, I believe, something like that, and he had a modified and he had an opening, and I think Larry Willie was actually driving that car before I stepped in it, and so he decided we're going to run down there, and I started driving for him, and we actually won quite a few races with Bobby at Sedalia and at Warrensburg. So
yeah, I was going to say my record showed 9 out of 13 feature wins at Sedalia, at the State Fair Speedway.
That actually came a little bit later in '99.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2000 starts to be a winning combination for you that will last for quite a while. And Mick Lamb comes on board as a sponsor for the car. Tell us a little bit about Mick and how that deal came about. I'm sorry.
Well, in '99 is when I was going through my divorce. I had to sell both of my late models, both my engines, and you know, everything is kind of, you know, all tied up with that. And I was kind of done racing, really, because I didn't really think I could afford to re-up, you know, the way it needed to be. So I was just basically either gonna quit for a while or just chill out. And you know, a guy named Jim Thompson came up to me, and he's my brother's father-in-law, and asked me to drive his car for him, and it was a modified, and that modified come later on known as Sweetie. And so after my brother, we talked about it, and he was okay with it, and he was good with it. I started driving that car in the first of '99, and we won 9 out of 13 races with that thing, 5 weeks in a row at Sedalia with it, and that car was just a phenomenal car. Well, that was Jim Thompson's car, and there'd been a guy who was up in the grandstands named Mick Lamb. Always went to the races, but very rarely ever came down to the pits. Well, he owned a sprint car back in the '70s that my dad drove for him, and they had some pretty good success. We went down to the speed weeks in Florida with the sprint cars and run against Opperman and Oots and all those guys, you know. You can actually see some of that video on YouTube if you get to looking around. I actually saw it. It's pretty cool. But Mick comes down on the last night at Sedalia and offers to buy that car from Jim Thompson. And he asked me if I would drive it for him. And he said, I tell you what, I'll buy the car, I'll pay for everything, you get to keep the money. Does that sound like a good deal? I'm going like, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that started it all off, and that kicked it off in the year of 2000. And Mick either owned at least one car, if not two cars, every year that I raced from 2000 to 2014.
Wow.
So he was a big contributor to our program and a lot of the success that I had over that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the hardest things that you have had to overcome in your racing career was back when you had the open heart surgery. Can you explain a little bit what the surgery was? And then the amazing thing about it is man, you were back within 6 weeks in racing.
Yeah, I had no doubt that I was going to be back in the race car. It's just a matter of when. You know, maybe I was just a little younger then, and it didn't seem like that big a deal. Maybe it is more than what it was, but I just wanted to get back in the race car. We were actually trying to win a points championship at Sedalia for Eddie Young, because that's who owned one of the cars besides Mick at that time frame. And well, I wanted to win the championship there for Eddie, and it just, that all happened, and you have to go in, and this has to be done. And so that kind of put all that on the sideline. Well, they ended up closing up Sedalia early anyways that year, so it kind of nixed the whole deal. So.
Yeah. Just a few highlights that I know about. You were only 2 of 3 people to win 2 classes at CMS, isn't that correct?
Yeah.
What 2 classes were they?
Modifieds and late models.
In the same year?
Are you talking about, no?
You won 2 classes at one track.
As far as feature wins that night?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've done that a couple times at Warrensburg when they'd had a rain out and they'd run the features.
Okay.
They run them right off the get-go, and then you run your second night's program, you know, the rest of the night. Yeah.
So you actually won 4 features in one night.
Right. 2 modified features, 2 late model features.
During this same period, you had 3 points championships at Lakeside. You won the Tom Wilson. You have won the Tom Wilson Barbecue Bowl, the Tom Carrick Memorial, and the Jayhawk Classic. And then again in 2008, you had your 3rd points championship at Lakeside. I know at the banquet you were talking a little bit about somebody else had tied you, Carrick, or somebody had tied you, and you guys decided you'd go back and try and get that 3rd one, so you'd be the only one that had 3.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any real competition there other than my own competition, but we never really went out there to chase the points unless we were tied with somebody. Mm-hmm. And of course we were tied with Boyer, and then we were tied with Carrick, and I think actually, I don't even know, I think we maybe, me and Carrick might be tied at 3 at this point. So.
Yeah, yeah. Just a little quickie, I didn't have this written down, but what was your professional opinion of racing with Clint Boyer?
I had a good time racing against him. I still talk to him for quite a while after he, elevated up into the truck series and went on. And we just, you just kind of, he's so big that he loses touch. That happens. I get it, but I thought he was a first class racer. There's no doubt. I mean, he wouldn't be where he's at if he wasn't.
Absolutely. 2017. You kind of decide that maybe it might be time to retire, and you do, but actually in that process you're still driving some other cars for car owners, plus some B-Mod rides. Can you tell us a little bit about that 2017 year?
Well, actually it worked out that Mick, his sponsorship ceased at that point the year before, and really it was kind of without a ride, and so I went and bought my own car, thinking, okay, I'm going to do this one more year, and I'm going to do it on my own money. And I did, and it turned out pretty good, but that was the commitment that I made. So I ended up selling all the stuff, and, and that was just going to be it. And then Richard and Christina asked me if I still wanted to race, I could drive their car, and, well, that brought it back on. So now everybody's thinking, well, you said you was retired. And I go, well, I did retire. I just retired from spending my own money. So,
That's got to be a big relief. Plus, they take care of most of the maintenance and everything on the car also, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I go up and help Richard, if he needs help, it's going to get done.
But a nice situation to just kind of show up at the track and jump in there and go.
Yeah, because it's just there's all that, hauling it down there and getting it in, getting it unloaded and all that stuff. That it's not a big deal, but it's just fun to show up to and get to race.
Well, like you say, in 2018, Smith's come calling, and you're off to the races at CMS, and you come home with the points championship there at CMS. Must have been a lot of fun that year because, man, you pulled off some big wins. You also had the Tom Wilson Barbecue Bowl that you won in 2018. Tell us a little bit about the Smiths and how that had gone.
Well, I mean, we sat down before the season and we kind of made some goals, and the one thing that I wanted us to have was I wanted us to have fun, while we was doing it, because after it just gets to be such a grind. If you're not in it for the right reasons, it's really gonna take all the fun out of it. And I think we had a lot of fun last year. I know I did. I hope they did. And it was enjoyable. It was kind of it was more of a relaxed atmosphere, and when it's like that, I think you perform better at times.
More relaxed. I couldn't agree more. Okay, we got 2019 coming up. We're going to be 51 years old, start the season. What's in store for Chad Lyle here for the 2019 season?
I'm excited as I was when I was 15 years old racing right now. I mean, we were racing and winning races last year with a 40-year-old car. That doesn't mean it was a bad car. It was an excellent car. But, you try to upgrade your equipment a little bit, and, you hope you gain a little bit of speed. Whether you get it or not, you don't know. You just got to get it out there. But you're giving it the potential to get more speed, right?
Yeah.
So we've got a new car. I'm excited about that. Coming back with the same engine program. I'm excited about this year. I can't explain it.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Is this going to be it? I mean, will this be the Chad Lyle farewell tour?
Well, it's going to have to be because me and my wife she's been gracious enough to let me go a little bit longer than what my original agreement was. And, I need to honor that. And it's just time for us to get out and, let's go see the world a little bit and do it before we get too old to really enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Chad, who's had the biggest impact on your life?
I would say my dad. It'd have to be my dad. He's been probably my biggest mentor as far as anybody I need to lean on or talk to, or anybody that if I had problems, he was the guy I would go to. So I would have to say my dad.
What would you like to be known or remembered for?
That's a good question. A good, hard, clean racer that would finish second rather than just take you out, just for another win.
If you could relive one moment in your life, whether to enjoy it again or change it, what would it be?
One moment? Not really. I mean, I take it back. I got one for you. I think I would have went ahead and done the Scott Trailer ARCA race at the Kansas Speedway when it was offered to me back in, I believe that was 2001 and 2002. And they offered it to me both years. It was it was a buy-in deal, but that would have given me an experience I probably would have never, you never forget that running up there. Now, if I'd have won the ARCA race, would it make you go to NASCAR? Probably absolutely not, So, but it would have been fun. It would have been something to look at. That'd be one thing I regret.
Thanks a lot, Chad. That's all
You
I've got
bet,
for you.
guys. Yep.
Just want to say congratulations to another driver that has been at the top of his generation of drivers for quite a while. Entering into the Carb Hall of Fame with checkered flags waving over your head and a place waiting for you in the winner's circle. Chad, congratulations, man, on being inducted into the Carb Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much.